The man known as the Prince of Pot may be allowed back to Canada. Marc Emery is serving time in a U.S. prison for selling pot over the internet. Well, this week, U.S. officials approved his transfer back home. Now, the next step is up to Ottawa. Our Rosemary Barton is tracking this story from the nation's capital, and she joins me now. Rosemary, remind us about Marc Emery's case and why this development now.
Well, he's known as the Prince of Pot, as you said, Christine, because of the fact that he has become such a vocal activist for the legalization of marijuana, and part of that activism included selling marijuana seeds to anyone that was interested. And that is what landed him in a U.S. prison. He was extradited in May of 2010 and sentenced as part of a plea agreement in September of that year to serve 5 years in prison, which he has been doing. This transfer comes about as somewhat of a surprise to him and his wife, who was also an activist. They didn't think that it would happen. It had been denied in the past, but this time the U.S. Department of Justice says he can be transferred back to Canada, and they believe that it might have something to do with a changing mentality in the United States around marijuana. At least 2 states in that country have since legalized marijuana in very particular cases. So they point to that as perhaps a changing mentality around that drug, and not perhaps as much of a desire to crack down on political activists, on activists around marijuana as Marc Emery is.
So, Rosemary, what are Canadian officials saying about all this?
Well, for now, this decision goes to the Minister of Public Safety. The acting Minister of Public Safety is also the Justice Minister, Rob Nicholson, and this decision is really now at his discretion. He gets to decide whether he wants Marc Emery back to serve the remainder of his sentence, and he has to consider a few things. Here are some of them. He has to think about whether Emery is, first of all, a threat to Canadian security, whether there is a possibility that he could commit a criminal offense again, and whether he has any social and family ties, and certainly he does. His wife is still in British Columbia. Regardless of what the minister decides, though, Marc Emery's sentence is coming to an end. He is expected to be released from U.S. prison this time next year. He will have served 85% of his 5-year sentence, and he could be released early for good behavior.
All right. Thanks for this, Rosemary.
You're welcome.
That's our Rosemary Barton in Ottawa.